Recently, scientists that have been studying Antarctica have been forced to come out and admit that the continent is not what they thought it was. The continent was at one time a lush rainforest full of life. In today's video, I'm going to show you visual proof that this was the case as recently as the 17th century. Now, for those of you who haven't been to my videos before, we've covered this multiple times, quote unquote, a rainforest in Antarctica during the age of dinosaurs. Now, their timetable here is completely wrong. They say 90 million years. I'm going to show you images from that era, from explorers, and using Google Earth Pro, I'm going to show you other images that correlate to those. It was a rainforest in the 17th century. Now, we have to start here. I'm sure anyone who's lived in the South knows exactly what these sneaky little bastards are capable of. They're everywhere, and they range in size from 3 or 4 feet long up to 15 or 20 feet long. But one thing they all have in common: when you encounter them, you don't forget the encounter. They are very, very memorable. It's been all over this platform and other platforms how even in populated areas, in these little ponds, these giant, what would have been referred to many years ago as sea dragons, alligators, crocodiles, can flourish. They are massive creatures. They are extremely dangerous. And just imagine being a 16th or 17th century explorer coming to the New World and seeing something like this, and then attempting just to use ink or lead and parchment to try to create some image that you could tell people about back in Europe. Most people in Europe couldn't read. Very few books were available at this time with images, and virtually nobody traveled more than 20 to 30 miles from their home. So a creature like this would have been relegated to the stories of fantasy. But what do we know to be the truth? We know for a fact they exist. We know how big they get. We know how dangerous they are. We know that in the water there's virtually nothing that can stop them. Now, what does this have to do with Antarctica? What does it have to do with Antarctica being a rainforest? Well, we also know that ancient man had the ability to build very big structures. Usually, they would create structures that had some significance or some meaning, something memorable. And over again, we see in the fossil records that serpents, alligators, reptiles figure prominently into their structures. This is all fact. This is all accepted history, accepted science. We know this to be the case. Now, one second. Old maps, for as much as they were artistic, were very accurate given the day. For example, this one goes all the way back to the early 16th century, showing the New World. And it gets a great many things right. It shows the Mississippi River. It shows what looks like possibly the Rio Grande, that Cuba is an island. It has Florida being a peninsula. Hispaniola, Dominica. Here in Brazil, it shows that they're cannibals, and that's where they were discovered. Down here, it even says Regio Gigantum. So there were giants here in this region as far back as the early 1500s. This is fact. Now just stick with me here. The things that we have established. It shows on multiple maps from the time that South America and what we know to be Antarctica were connected. There was virtually no distance between them. Multiple maps from multiple map makers, I've done other videos specifically on this topic, show this. They don't show what we call Argentina, Chile, having any kind of a huge 200 or 300 mile gap. between that and Antarctica, but that does show Cape Horn in Africa and Antarctica having that gap. So we know this wasn't just a factor of poor map making. They were very, very accurate for the time. And if there had been a 200 or 300 mile gap here, they would have put it on the map. We see this again here. This one is 1694. 1694 shows clearly big gap between the Cape Horn of Africa, but no gap between Antarctica and South America. Now this map is one that shows some things that are a little bit strange. They start to show pictures of people and people doing different things and different activities. Maps at this time were not just ways to get around, they were intelligence reports. But here's the map that changes everything. This one. This map here is from 1607. Now you would think, well, gosh, it looks very blurry and kind of not detailed. Let me zoom in something for you here, and it's going to blow your mind. It's down here in the corner. Now, you see this area here they call Magellanica? Magellanica, right here? Magellanica. Circulus Antarcticus, right here. See the gap right here? Now, for Magellanica, they show images of what was there. Look at this image. Let me see if I can zoom in a little closer. Now, it's clearly labeled Magellanica. It shows what looks like some type of a mastodon, mammoth, elephant-style creature, but look at the size of the person sitting on it. Look at the tusks. This is important because I'm going to show this using Google Earth Pro. Over here in the corner, we can see a guy with a bow riding what looks like some type of a giant alligator crocodile-like creature. And in the background, we can see a pair of these what look like elephant, mastodon, mammoth-style creatures. But look at what else we see. Palm trees, greenery, lizards. And over here behind the woman, we see these giant icy peaks. These giant icy mountaintops. Now this says, like I said, Magellanica. Let me zoom out here to show you that this whole map isn't Magellanica. Over here it says Peruana. This is a different place. Up at the top it has Europa. That's here. Asia. It shows basically what they see in those regions. So when this map here says Magellanica, it's talking about, this image is talking about what is here. They're not showing some giant, icy, windswept plain of rock and frozen glaciers, are they? They're showing trees and green hills and living creatures and things that look like crocodiles and people with basically just loincloths on. Giant people. Look at the size of this woman versus this creature. I'll give you this map. It's an iStock photo map, 17th century world map by Petro Cario, K-A-E-R-I-O, for those of you that want to look it up already. It should be down in the first pinned comment. Now, here's the image. Here's where it shows that it's not 300 miles away from the tip of South America. Let's go to Google Earth Pro. You ready for this? Pardon me. Giant white tusks here, large ear, the head of a mastodon, two large legs. You can see the large burly back here. Very clear. Now, whether this is a frozen specimen in the ice that was picked up by satellite, or whether this is a statue, something that they've created, I don't know. I don't know, but I know what I see. Now, remember we were talking about gators? Talking about these serpents? I'm pretty sure this is statuary. That this is some type of an homage to one. As you can see, you have the armored eye sockets, just like they have, the shape of the head, the snout. It's all here. I'm not alleging this is an actual living alligator. I'm alleging that this is more than likely some type of a statuary or an homage that has been uncovered from the incredible amount of melting going on in Antarctica. And we're starting to see things from an ancient culture that we haven't seen before. One more image. And this is a brand new one. This is a never before seen image. Let's see if I can get a... Of course. 1 second. Sometimes, there we go. Google Earth Pro can be a little finicky with some things. And you've got to be just at the right angle at the right time. Now look at the shape of this. Right here. Once again, a large hump in the body that kind of comes down here, the head that angles up, the armored eyes, you have the long snout, you even have kind of the jowly area under here. Once again, not alleging this is an actual living alligator. What I think we are seeing is statuary that was created by a race long forgotten that lived in Antarctica when it was a giant rainforest. It froze, something happened. I alleged a long time ago it was a huge earthquake in Japan around 1703 that caused a tidal wave that opened up that gap between Antarctica and South America. But now, with the change in the climate, we're starting to see things melt at an accelerated rate, and we are starting to see their culture uncovered. I'll give you the coordinates for Google Earth Pro. I'll give you the links to the maps. You can see these things for yourself. It's not a myth that there are giant pyramids in South America covered in toothy serpents. This is not a myth. These things are everywhere, and more importantly, if they were going to make statuary of something, this animal would have been it. This animal would have been it. This is key. This is the smoking gun. We've shown this multiple times on multiple maps. And I'm going to go back here. Explain for me why an area that is described on the map here as Magellanica would have images of mastodons, green trees, palm trees, maybe some icy peaks in the background, and men riding what look like alligators. It also shows, if you look closely, pyramids. Look in the background here. Look at these towers. Look at these pyramids. Now, they aren't saying this is South America. They aren't saying this is South America. They're saying this is Magellanica. It doesn't refer to this area as Magellanica. This is Magellanica down here. They label it to be clear. These things are here in what we know to be Antarctica. When are they there? Well, this is a pretty well established map. 1607. 1607. I really don't know how you argue with that. Why would they have done such a thing? Why would they have misreported such a thing? They were there. They visited the place. They knew. And I personally believe that there are people in the scientific community that know. But changing the timelines would mean revisiting a lot of timelines. And for them, that would be a problem. So, anyway, I will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.